Well, hello. Let's talk about how you want to start a worm farming business. And there are some things that you might not have even thought about. So I'm going to give you a list of things to look into before you start your worm farming business. And what you need to do, the first thing you need to do is to get yourself a piece of paper and a pen and write down why you want to start a worm farming business. What is your mission statement? And what will be the benefits for you and your family when it comes to your worm farming business? So write it down and get that mission statement written out. Now, another thing you're going to have to think about is location, location, location. Where are you going to locate your worm farming business? If you're going to go big time, you're going to have to rent some property. And when it comes to rent, that costs money. And a few other things that you have to think about when it comes to your rent. You have to think about electricity bill, water bill, heating bill, and those type of things to look into. And you're also going to have to get some insurance. The minimum requirement is to at least get yourself some renter insurance to cover yourself if something should happen. So you're going to have to look into insurance as well. Now, when you buy worms, you're going to have to think about how many worms you're going to have to invest in, because you're going to have to buy your worms in bulk. You're probably going to have to buy at least 10 to 30 pounds of worms to get started, because you want to at least have, like say you buy 15 pounds, you want to at least have 5 pounds on the side to keep breeding and sell your other 10 pounds to make profit. But that's something you're definitely going to have to think about. And worms are not going to be cheap, because you're going to have to invest, like I said, some money into getting that business started. So look into your worms and how many pounds that you want to invest into to get that started. So write that down on your piece of paper. Another thing to think about is, where are you going to store your worms? You're going to have a big continuous flow system to store your worms in. It can't be a little worm bin 360. It can't be a 18-inch Rubbermaid tote. You're going to have to invest into a larger operation. So that's something to look into. And also, you're going to have to think about food. What are you going to feed your worms? Where you're going to get your food supply from? Where you're going to get your bedding from? Because you need food and bedding for your worms to be able to multiply. So that's another thing to look into when you're doing your business. You're going to have to look into your branding, because you're going to have to get a lawyer to get that patent or that trademark for your branding. And that is definitely another investment that you will have to think about, because if you want your name to be branded, once again, you're going to have to get yourself a lawyer. Now, you got to think about marketing. You got to pay someone to market your website. You're going to have to get things started that way. You're going to have to, like, if you're getting to your merchandise, you're going to have to get someone to do your designs, all that stuff. So merchandise and a website is definitely something that you are going to have to look into to get this worm farm started, because you want your website to be able to attract business, so that way you can make sales off of your profit, off of your worms when it comes to your business. You're going to have to figure out ways for your shipping cost to be lowered, because shipping is expensive. The prices have definitely increased over the years when it comes to shipping. So that's one thing you're going to have to look into, is to figure out a way to lower your shipping cost. You're going to have to think about staffing. Are you going to work alone? Are you going to have people working for you? You're going to have to figure out how much they're going to get paid. You're going to have an accountant to take care of your books. You're going to have to have someone to take care of your taxes when it's that time to file your taxes. So that's something to look into, because when it comes to your staff, you also got to think about insurance, because if something happens to your staff members, your employees or your coworkers or whatever, you're going to have insurance to cover them if something happens on that job site. So you're going to have to look into insurance as well. Now, another thing to think about is, how are you going to cover all of your costs? Are you going to go out and get a loan to get your business started? because you're going to have to get at least, I'm going to throw a number out there, at least $5,000 to get something started. So that way you can get the snowball moving. But if you're wealthy and already have the cash, then you're good to go. But most people have to get loans. So that's something you have to look into, is are you going to get a loan to provide for your business? What you're going to have to do is go through your list, and I want you to actually write a reply for each of these things that I told you to write down on your list, because I want you to have a vision, because without a roadmap, you don't know where you're going. So that's why you got to be able to write your things down. And like I said, go down this checklist and see how you're going to make this happen. And another thing, are you willing to put in a lot of hours? Because it's not going to be easy. A lot of people that I've talked to have put in many hours of blood, sweat, and tears to become where they're at. And I'm going to be honest with you. Not everyone that starts a worm farming business is going to be successful, because it's not going to be easy. But if you don't try, you don't know where you're ever going to end up at. So if you got your heart set on starting your worm farming business, I wish you nothing but the best.